Hello, world. Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor here. Today it is high noon in Alameda, but looking out, it could be 5 o'clock. I mean, it's definitely a mood. Um, we are in between showers. Today is the one day that we're not going to get a lot of rain until later tonight. We're gonna get, you can tell looking at the pavement down there. I was out here 10 minutes ago and the pavement out there next to the pool was dry and it's already, we got a little band of sprinkles coming through here. Today is gonna be like that. Tonight we start with more rain and then it will, I think Monday, they're saying it's gonna be like an event. So our next super hard rain event is 2 days away, and between now and then, a lot of sprinkles. So this is an unusual amount of water, and it is becoming kind of our main topics the last couple of times. But today, earlier today, I was able to put water in my watering cans and water a few of my trees. Um, the maples, for instance. And I say that, why is that a big deal? The cypress. It, I'm going to have to repot this as soon as possible. I could probably cheat this and repot it now, but this top of this soil, this crack here where you can see where the soil is rising up from the pot, there's a little daylight crack there, that gets bigger every day. It's rising up like a pie or a cake or something. Anyway, the good news is that having gone back onto having finally let the trees dry out and had finally gotten them located to a position where they weren't constantly being rewatered, then we were able to, even in high humidity, allow the trees to dry out enough that we could resume our winter watering schedule, which I don't water probably as much as most places in the country. One of the people that I learned bonsai from quite a bit talks about in the summer how they tend to water twice a day. I don't know that I water twice a day that often here. I think in places that are we're a little bit kind of temperate here, and it doesn't. I mean, I do water twice a day during the summer, but not as often. I don't think it's a daily with me. I probably water more in 3 days than I do, but not twice as much. It's kind of a way to put it. But what the good thing is I'm starting to see this guy got watered yesterday, and it is moving its water along nicely. These little guys finally got watered again. They're little plugs that I'm looking at here, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. You can see that little bit of white showing up. That's telling us that plug is starting to dry out. Between you and me, that's probably wind exposure, and it's still pretty moist because the rest of the substrate in there is still a little darker. But these guys here didn't get watered. They're in between waiting, and I'll do that manana. So the good news is that I'm back to my own watering schedule, and the trees seem to be happier for it. And seem to be happier for it. What I mean by that is they are greening up. I was watching them stay wet longer than I wanted them to stay wet, and I knew that that would lead to a symptom of yellowing needles because they can't photosynthesize. And then I'm watching what I thought to be true turn absolute true as the trees start to yellow. But it takes a while to kill a tree from that. A lot of times, I was just watching a video today from one of the people that I consider to be a good bonsai teacher and source of information. It's the guys over at Bonsai Agency in Japan, and he was explaining in the video I saw today how he hears a lot of beginners talking about death by root rot, when really most of the time that's not the case. What is normally the case is it takes a beginner a long time to finally give up on a dead tree. Like he'll get asked, the needles are red, will they turn back from that? No, they won't come back to green. If they're red, they're dead. So it's that time that somebody would continue to water something that several weeks ago is passed on to a new world, so that when they finally do unpot, if they go, oh, root rot, well, that may or may not have had anything to do with it. That's just as likely to have been what occurred in the pot after the tree died. And in listening to that and listening to the extent to which that can happen, he also described a scenario where in winter watering, we already know we're gonna, if we were watering twice a day in the summer, because it gets quite warm and our trees will vacate off that much water. If we were to do that, and then in the winter, now all of a sudden we're watering every 3 days, for instance. Let's say it were starting to get underwatered, and you thought that because of the kind of weather you've been having lately, that you had been overwatering. So you then back off, and then that yellowing continues, because what you think is overwatering is underwatering. And then what would take weeks to happen is overwatering a tree to kill it. When it has finally gone dry too long, it will die very quickly. So that can happen very, very quickly. What else can happen is insects or viruses or something. I'm standing where one of my favorite trees used to be, and it was hanging out over there. It was my beautiful literati Yamadori. And since I lost that tree so quickly, it would almost seem as though that perhaps I had underwatered it, because I noticed it thick, and within 2 weeks of that, the needles were red throughout the tree, and it was already gone. And when I did unpot it, there were no signs of root rot. There wasn't any smell. There wasn't any insects. There wasn't anything else. It could have got something that I didn't see, like a virus that would have killed it without me being able to do anything. Or perhaps I thought I was overwatering it because of the amount of rain we had and underwatered it. Or perhaps that death did occur during the wettest October we've had since I've lived in California. And I'll probably allow the tree to get overwatered, and it probably killed the tree faster than I would have realized. That's kind of those dots seem to line up, but I may never know. It might have not had anything to do with me. But what is important is that you're able to do some sort of schedule and maintain some sort of schedule. This little pine tree here got moved to the back where it will not get any incidental water from the rain. That way it will stay on my watering schedule between my being able to check its substrate and see how it's doing. Pretty much the same with this guy. This guy, the front of it might be, the rain does stop coming in at about 35-40 miles an hour. All bets are off. Everything out here is going to get thoroughly soaked, but I'm not in for too much of that. 15-20s and the water probably won't make it. There won't probably make it past halfway. So these things on the runt row are all of these guys up here are the things that are good to go on heavy rain days. So the good news is I was watching this guy get yellower and yellower and yellower while it sat over there, and moving it back here. It probably could water this, but it's not dry yet down underneath there. I know that. And this afternoon we're supposed to get some heavy rains. Depending on how that looks, I may or may not water that tomorrow morning. So that's how that'll go. So that's what it looks like. you can get strategic and get some balance going on your little bonsai garden, even when you are having rain events. And by rain events, for those who haven't been totally following or watching the news, we have had back to back to back to back fronts. Um, it's basically, if you look at the weather radar, it's just piled up from here to Japan, across the ocean. I mean, they kind of blossom between here and Hawaii mostly, but you can see the big, and they're all just lined up like buses, waiting to come ashore. So we're probably going to be seeing this for a little while. Um, yeah, I think we've already got ourselves out of extreme drought in some places because of the amount of water that we've gotten just since October. All good news. So I'm just gonna just leave this off here. Um, there's not really much more to. I just kind of think that's a victory, you know, being able to see the trees start to green up again where they were starting to look yellow, and I knew that that was what was going to happen with the amount of time they were spending. But that was a good cause and effect lesson for me. I feel really good about the work we did. You guys like and subscribe if you have not already. Am seriously, I'm going to bring in. Normally, you wait till the buds are swelling, and I don't really. You see the little knots? One day, one warm day in this guy between now and the next 8 weeks is usually when all this stuff starts budding out anyway. Um, I may repot this guy tonight. I expect with that little cypress there with the green mound of moss that almost looks like a little moss pie in a pot with a stick sticking out of the top of it. I expect to find one enormous root